plan that goes with your flow. Get unlimited local talk, text, and data at the most affordable rate with Unlimited Flow Postpaid, only at Docomo Pacific.
Try Wendy's deliciously indulgent mushroom bacon cheeseburger made with juicy beef, crispy applewood smoked bacon, savory roasted mushrooms, Munster cheese, and a creamy garlic spread, all in a soft toasted bun. Make it a combo and try it in a double or triple. Wendy's, good done right. Beat the heat and indulge in fruity cold smoothies at Cold Stone Creamery today. And if you're looking for a healthier alternative, they've got an acai bowl packed with fruits for a refreshing holiday from the hot sun and whatever is stressing you out. Take the family, treat your friends, or hog it all to yourself. Cold Stone Creamery, the ultimate ice cream experience.
Kandit News is brought to you by 76 Circle K Guam.
Hello, my dear friends. It is 8:52 p.m. on Tuesday, January 21, 2025. And boy, oh boy, the Democrats just can't seem to win this year. So today in the States, the Republicans took over the second branch of government. The President Donald Trump took over the White House. A whole bunch of things happened. So many things happened today with the Republicans taking over the government in the country and the federal government, that it's going to be a little difficult to just get a grasp on everything that happened on day one. So this follows a stinging string of defeats during the 2024 election, and Guam's Democrats weren't immune to those defeats. In the 2024 elections in November, voters here on Guam returned Republicans to control of the legislature. And, normally when a party becomes a minority, there's a whole lot of reflection that happens. They're not as busy anymore, so there's time for reflection, there's time for healing. They coalesce behind a leader, and they have an agenda to bring the majority back in the next legislature, or to ensure that they're the next candidate who runs for governor from whatever party that is makes it and becomes the governor. And in the case of the Democrats, they went from a 9-member majority after spending 16 years uninterrupted as the majority party in the first branch of government to the voters only returning 6 of them to the legislature. And those 6 are, I'll try to do this in alphabetical order so no one accuses me of anything. Chris Barnett, Tina Munya Barnes, Will Parkinson, Sabina Perez, San Agustin, and Therese Terlaje. Hi, Prima Shelley. Congratulations on the inaugural festivities. I hope you're doing well. Hi, Sandra Rages. Hi, Auntie Debbie. Hi, John Savaris. All my friends are online now. God bless you all. And you know what I love about all of us? As I'm looking at just the names who are commenting, we all have different political stripes and believe in different things politically, but we're friends and we get along and we're able to debate each other civilly and without there's a lot of stupid commenters. Even on Kandit, there are some commenters who are pretty, I look at the comments sometimes, I'm like, wow, I'm surprised Darwin hasn't gotten you. Hi, Steve and Liz Almaguin, my friends. All right, so you have these 6 Democrats, these 6 senators, and you would think that because there's so few of them, it would be easier for them to get along and to band together and to do things. But the character of this group of 6 is bifurcated. It's different. It's not like previous minorities in either Republican or the Democrat side. This is a minority that is sharply divided right down the middle. You have within the Democratic caucus, you have your anti-Luliangro, anti-administration senators, who are Therese Terlaje, Chris Barnett, and Sabina Perez. And on the other side of the aisle, you have who would be considered your pro-administration Democrats. They don't always agree with the administration, but more often than not, they do. And that would be San Agustin, Will Parkinson, and Tina Muñoz Barnes. And these 6 senators cannot decide on a minority leader. Now, the minority leader serves important functions, and those functions are the lack of the ability for those functions to operate is hampering legislative business. So at the beginning of the legislature, you're supposed to be electing your speaker, vice speaker, legislative secretary, and minority leader, as well as the committee chairmanships. And the reason you elect the minority leader in the beginning, aside from showing solidarity from the minority that things are on the up and up and everything's good and they're good to go, they're going to be the loyal opposition to the majority party. And if the governor is of the opposing party, then they're the loyal opposition to the governor, right? And so that's the reason you elect a minority leader in the beginning, for tradition, for a show of solidarity, but more importantly, because of 2 key things. Get out of there. Hey, get out of there. Son of a gun. One, because normally the minority leader selects who the minority members on the powerful committee on rules will be. And second, the standing rules state that the minority leader selects the minority members of the ethics committee. And so the Republicans were able to get past the impasse they had with this whole minority leader situation with the appointments to the rules committee. There were 2 conflicting rules in the standing rules. They got rid of the rule that said that the minority leader was select, and the rules chairman ended up selecting the Democrat members of the rules committee. It worked out for the Republicans. Not so much for the Democrats. But when it comes to the selection of minority members to the ethics committee, and Tom Fisher, a former member of the legislature, he's an attorney. The week the legislature was sworn in, 2 weeks ago, sworn into office, he filed an ethics complaint against Republican Tello Taitigui. But the ethics committee cannot be fully impaneled because the minority leader hasn't been selected for that minority leader to select the 2 Democratic members of the ethics committee. So this minority leader situation is hampering legislative operations, the business of the first branch of the government. Not a good thing. But there's the unspoken, unwritten, real reason the minority leader position is very important to the politics of this island. That's the position that you want to be in if you're going to run for governor of Guam. For a bunch of different reasons, but I'll just give you the most obvious of the reasons. When a reporter, so the majority members, meaning the Republicans, they're going to get all the news because they're the ones who are going to be introducing the bills that are going to get passed. They're the ones who are going to be operating the committees and the oversight hearings and the public hearings and all that stuff that gets the news. But reporters, in order for us to get the other side of the story, we have to go to the other side of the aisle. And so if I ask, for example, Speaker Frank Blas, Speaker Frank Blas, we're doing this story about hiring in the legislature and salaries and all this stuff. We would like your comment on this. And so Speaker Frank Blas, as the leader of the legislature, he's probably going to get the most amount of earned media. And he is rumored to be a gubernatorial candidate as well, by the way. But that's not part of this discussion here. A reporter will take what Speaker Frank Blas says, then naturally go to the minority leader to ask for the opposite opinion, the opposite perspective. And so the minority leader it is conceivable that the minority leader will get more news coverage, more earned media than any of the members of the majority because the reporters are dividing up the time that they spend with each of the members of the majority based on the particular issue. So you're not going to ask Speaker Frank Blas about cultural stuff. You're going to ask Cultural Affairs Chairwoman Senator Shelley Calvo that question. And you're not going to ask Speaker Frank Blas about land issues or issues dealing with the operations of the legislature, because Tony Atta is the chairman of those committees. So you would ask Tony Atta those things. But for each of those things that you're asking each of these majority senators and dividing them up based on issues, you're going to be going to the minority leader to ask for the opposite opinion, the opposite perspective. And so the minority leader position gets a lot of news, a lot of earned media, a lot of free coverage, good, mostly good, and sometimes bad. But when you're trying to present yourself to the voters outside of legislative politics, meaning you're trying to get a microscope on you, you're trying to get all eyes on you because you're going to run for governor, and you want the people to know who you are, to see your demeanor, to understand where you stand on the issues, to get those sound bites in. That's why the minority leader position is so important. You know who had that position last for the Republicans, who made where it mattered the most, was Eddie Calvo. In the 31st Guam Legislature, Eddie Calvo was the minority leader. And beginning in 2009, he started to run for governor. And every time there was a disagreement, that the Republicans in the minority had a disagreement with the Democrats who were in the majority, the news media went to Eddie Calvo to ask Eddie Calvo, what's the position of the Republicans? What do you guys think? He got a lot of earned media. And so that's perhaps what might be driving this deadlock. And the deadlock between these two factions within the very small 6-member Democrat minority, it is on one side, I said, Therese Terlaje, Chris Barnett, Sabina Perez, Tina Munoz-Barnes, Joe San Agustin, Will Parkinson. You have one from each side who are rumored to have their eyes on Adelup, whether that's a run for governor or lieutenant governor. And that's Therese Terlaje on this side and Tina Munoz-Barnes on this side. One, Therese Terlaje, the most popularly elected member of the legislature. The other, the most senior member of the legislature. Both of them rumored to be running for Adelup in 2026, and both of them candidates for minority leader. Confirmed today by not just senators themselves, but also by inside sources, as those are the two candidates. That's where the impasse, that's where the deadlock is. And according to Chris Barnett, and this was reinforced by Therese Terlaje, because both of them responded to my query about this. Apparently, Senator Tina Munoz-Barnes refuses to meet to iron out whatever so that Therese Terlaje and Tina Munoz-Barnes can figure out which one of them should become the minority leader, or whether there should be a compromise candidate for minority leader. According to both Chris Barnett and Therese Terlaje, she does not want, or she refuses to meet. But then there's another side to this story. And by the way, Chris Barnett also said, so Chris Barnett's point is, he says that the voters of Guam already elected Therese Terlaje to be the minority leader when they made her the highest vote getter. It's a salient point. It's a big point, a relevant point that Chris Barnett makes. Sort of like when people say, in the last election, when there was the fight between Therese Terlaje and Joe San Agustin for speaker, the prevailing thought among the general public was give it to Therese Terlaje because she was the highest vote getter. And she prevailed. She ended up prevailing by getting Republicans to support her, which, by the way, inside baseball here, the Republicans again were asked to interfere in the election of the minority leader by both sides. This is my understanding from inside sources. Both sides of the Democrats asked the Republicans to give their votes to each of these sides so that the Republicans could help select and break this deadlock. The Republicans, these guys are smart, man. You know, I'm pretty impressed so far with the Republicans. They were like, no, you guys go take a hike. You guys figure this out on your own. The longer you guys fight, the better we look as Republicans. And they're right. If that is really what the Republicans said to the Democrats, the Republicans are absolutely right. They smell like roses more and more simply by comparison to the Democrats who can't seem to get it together. But Chris Barnett offers that perspective, right? He's like, look, she's the highest vote getter. She should be the minority leader. Will Parkinson offers a completely different perspective. And he gave inside baseball into what was happening. So I want to read to you what Will Parkinson said. He said, our caucus has not yet selected a minority leader. When we first met, it was clear that we needed to set aside the divisions caused by the previous leadership fight. That was the fight between Therese Terlaje and Joe San Agustin. I personally support Senator Tina Muñoz-Barnes for minority leader because she was not involved in last term's speaker contest and offers a fresh start, an opportunity for us to unify and move forward beyond last term's speaker debacle when there was a stalemate between Senator Therese Terlaje and Senator Joe San Agustin. Senator Terlaje went to the Republicans to secure a majority vote despite a supermajority of the caucus supporting Senator San Agustin. This is Will Parkinson. I'm continuing to read what he says. During our initial caucus discussions this time around, it became apparent that Senator Muñoz-Barnes had 3 committed votes, while Senator Terlaje also had 3, another stalemate. I suggested they work together to find a mutual agreement, and the rest of us agreed to support whatever resolution they could reach. Unfortunately, that was 2 months ago, and to my understanding, we are still at a stalemate. I continue to believe that Senator Muñoz-Barnes is the right compromise choice, someone who wasn't involved in last term's speaker contest, to give our caucus a clean slate and help us focus on the work the people of Guam entrusted us to do. Senator Muñoz-Barnes is the most senior member of our caucus. She is on her 9th term, and she has more experience than the 3 senators blocking her for minority leader combined. My goal, Senator Parkinson concludes, remains to foster cooperation rather than division. We owe it to the people of Guam to put internal politics aside and focus on the important issues facing our island, like power credits and protecting our freedoms. So both Chris Barnett and Will Parkinson make relevant, salient points. I, just like the Republican senators, do not want to get in the middle of any of that. Really, truly. Like, what do I care who becomes minority leader? What? It really just is a stepping stone to become governor or lieutenant governor. I mean, yeah, there are important legislative functions to consider here, but really, the reason why there is such a big fight is because whoever gets that position is going to get all the earned media. It's going to get more media coverage than even the Republican senators individually. And so it is a coveted position. But what I want to know is what you guys all think. What do you think? Like, who should be the minority leader? Who should, and don't forget, it's more than just Therese Terlaje and Tina Muñoz-Barnes. Who on each side of this divided Democrat aisle should throw their vote to the other side, should compromise and be like, you know what, this is not going to happen with my guy or with my girl, so I'm gonna support the other one. You know, your opinions, believe it or not, in the comments matter a lot to these elected officials. They read these things, and so now they get turned off by the ugliness. I'll tell you that. And there are some ugly comments that are posted sometimes. And if I had the time, I would go through it and I would block people and I'd take things down because, that ugliness is just stupid, right? But nonetheless, if you make a reasonable comment, have some sort of an argument behind it, or just comment what you feel and what you think in a civil way, I'm telling you, these political people, they actually read this stuff. And it might have some sort of an impression on them. It might steer them. So put in the comments who you think should be the minority leader, or put in the comments if you're just like me and you don't care who becomes the minority leader and you're just enjoying this whole spectacle that's happening. I swear, the poor Democrats, man. And I'm a registered Democrat, so I can say this I can say this objectively. Just can't win one. And it doesn't have to be like this. You know, the Democrats in Guam could just get it together. You know, the losses would have stopped on November 7, 2024, but they just keep on coming. And the Republicans, they're so smart, man. You know, and how they're behaving, how they're acting, how they're dealing with these things. They're just like, look, we got shiz to do, and we're gonna do what the people elected us to do. And Democrats, this train started moving. You guys haven't hopped onto it yet. Your loss. But you're more than welcome to join this party when you guys finally get it together. I mean, the Republicans are doing everything right. Sean Gumatautau is going to host. He's in Washington, D.C. for the Trump inauguration. He's probably on his way back to Guam now. He's going to be jet lagged. But on Friday, he's going to be hosting an oversight hearing, the first Republican-led oversight hearing in the legislature in 16 years, hitting the ground running. An oversight hearing about allegations of corruption over at Guam Homeland Security Office of Civil Defense. This guy, a freshman senator, he's taking it head on. And then you have all of these bills that these Republican senators are introducing, and Democrats are introducing bills as well. But you see these Republican senators, they're hitting the ground running with legislation that is important, reducing taxes, affordable housing legislation affecting, there's even like this really smart thing that I have no idea what it means. I have to ask Senator Shelley Calvo, what does your bill mean? It has something to do with, I guess, willing away whatever on when you die, or I don't know. It's like really smart stuff. I have to ask this freshman Republican senator, what does this do? And even Telo Taidakwi, I'm very critical of Telo Taidakwi, but even she has introduced legislation that looks good. And so these Republicans, they are not letting us down. Meanwhile, the Democrats, man, they got to get it together. Like someone on some side has to throw the vote one way. Someone has to be like, look, we can't, for the sake of our party, we just can't look like this. And I get it. If you're on one side or the other, you really want your girl to win. I get it. And, you probably really want your girl to win because you want that candidate to be the next governor. One side is going to have to take a loss. One side is going to have to say, okay, we're going to lose this battle, but we're going to refocus and we're going to re-strategize so that we can win the war in 2 years. That's really what it's going to come down to. Or a compromise candidate. Otherwise, honestly, I don't care who becomes minority leader. For Kandit News, I'm Troy Torres. You all have a wonderful evening. Join me in about 20 minutes to pray the Holy Rosary for your prayer intentions, for my prayer intentions, for our country, for peace in the world, and for love all around. I love you all. Good night.